Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining me. This is the morning market review. My name is Russell Shaw. I'm a senior market specialist at FXCM. Today is the 6th of September. It's Wednesday, and I'd like to just highlight my email address. So rshaw@fxcm.com. If anyone wants to correspond, that's the email address to use. Just before we get into the webinar itself, I'm going to bring up our disclaimers. Start off with the high risk investment warning. Hey James, Howard, good morning to both of you. Pleasure to have you on the webinar. Thank you very much for signing in. Thank you for everyone signing in this morning. It is much appreciated. Hey Kim, good morning to you and welcome. I'm going to just go ahead and bring up the commentaries disclaimer. And just finally, our references before we get started, MarketScope 2.0 and TradingView.com. I want to start off with TradingView. Again, our starting point at the moment is the real rate. We said yesterday that we're going to monitor it. So we'll start off just by taking a look where it's at. Now, what we have here is a what looks like a continuation pattern in terms of technicals. And let me just make this into a parallel. Let's just draw the parallel line across. There we go. Okay, so you can see a flag pattern. What a flag pattern is, it's a continuation pattern. So the trend going into the pattern is assumed that it will continue if there is an upside breakout. It does look as if there's been an upside breakout. Okay, so there's the flagpole. Technical theory say flags fly at half mast. I wouldn't put too much importance on the measured move, but we will extend it out nevertheless. And the idea here is that it's really just showing the bullishness of the pattern. What would be incredible if the target is reached. I don't think this target will be reached. Nevertheless, the idea here is that it's a bullish continuation pattern. And then another way that we said that we would monitor this is just with indicators. So let's just take a look at the exact same chart. Instead of using measured moves, what we'll do is we'll follow the trend following indicators, which we have here. We've got a 5-day, that's the green, and a 10-day, that's the orange, and the 5-day is above the 10-day. So there is a bullish cross there. And of course, the RSI, which is a measure of momentum, is above 50. Okay, it's above 50. So by and by, it looks as if there is support for the 10-year. And if there's support for the 10-year, we did the correlation coefficients with the 10-year and the dollar. We saw that it was positive. So kind of pulling the dollar up like a magnet. So if there is some sort of bullishness for the dollar, let's start looking at the greenback. And we'll take a look at a few pairs this morning with the idea that the dollar is supported. Remember, if the dollar is supported, that's going to be a headwind for the other majors because it's the dollar that's going to be moving, right? So if we take a look at our dollar, yesterday we put in a potential higher trough. This is a very odd type of movement here. I'd like to see how it evolves, but one candle pullback, that's interesting. Higher trough followed by the higher peak. Take a look at the US dollar channels now. Let's take a look at the zones. And it is in zone 1. It's between the upper red, the upper blue. Take a look at the red Bollinger's. They are tracking upwards. Okay, so there is a certain upwards momentum here. Now, for today, just keep an eye. See, we've got this red candle here, so a potential pullback in the uptrend. Let's go down to the hourly and see if we can time that. So we'll go down to the hourly. All right, let's just clean up all the line studies. All right, and it looks to me as if the central pivot here is a potential reaction level. Again, we want to see the crossover of the EMAs, and we want to see a crossover of the stochastic. Those are the two triggers. Once we get the two triggers, then really we want the EMAs to track upwards, showing angle and separation, and we want the stochastic to move towards the upper quintile. So keep an eye on this central pivot. It looks as if it's the first level of potential support, and that would be a dip in the uptrend. Why do we call it an uptrend? It's tracking in zone 1. Okay, so the dollar showing a potential here. Whether that potential actually manifests or not, we'll have to wait and see. But if the dollar is showing some sort of potential, let's take a look, say, at euro and pound. See if there is any potential signals there. Let's go through to euro US dollar. Start with the weekly. Okay, I want to take out the HP and the LT. So we're looking at the weekly here. I'm just going to put in P as so P, our reference peak, and a reference trough. If you take a look at last week's candle, just by the way, it's a very weak candle. This candle. This is last week. So euro was bid right up to the high. At the high, the bulls lose control, and then the bears really thrash it, and they push it all the way down. And you can see that the RSI is below 50, so there's that negative bearish momentum. So that's on the weekly. Let's go down to the zones. Let's see what's happening on the zones. Remember our sort of rationale here. We started with the real rates for the US dollar. They looked as if they were moving upwards out of a continuation pattern. The hypothesis is that is a magnet for the US dollar. US dollar looks as if it is at a central pivot support. Well, then maybe there's going to be some pressure on the euro. Well, what zone is it in? It's in zone 3. Okay, it's between the lower blue and the lower red. The RSI below 50, so it does look as if there is a downside bias here. A little bit of blue creeping in today's candle. Well, that's a potential rally in a downtrend. Let's go down to the hour and see if there is a potential signal there. Again, let's clear up these line studies. And well, just like the central pivot is acting for support for the dollar, it looks as if the central pivot is a potential resistance area for euro US dollar. Okay, Do we get a bearish cross here? That's only one trigger out of a dual trigger system. Then we want to see the stochastic push lower. And if the stochastic pushes lower, remember I said if, because I don't know, but what I'm effectively doing is looking from the top down. I'm trying to get a bias from the upper time frames, from the higher time frames. Then we drill down and we look for potential areas where it's logical for reactions to occur. Well, the central pivot looks to be one of those levels. If it doesn't hold, well then R1 becomes the next key reaction level, and it's got some resistance, some price resistance as well. So we look at these key levels. We don't predict, we react. Okay, so we want to just see if we get the triggers to be, if we're going to pull. All right. Again, it's a dual analysis. The fundamentals driving the dollar. Okay. Then we take a look at the dollar. Okay. Then we take a look at the euro. Okay. Let's take a look at the next one. Let's take a look. So let's take a look at the Canadian. It's not one we look at often, but it's interesting because at 4 p.m. ZA, 3 p.m. UK, we are going to get a Bank of Canada rate decision. And let's just take a look at USD CAD, and let's do, again, top-down analysis. Remember what the hypothesis is built on, is really built on the real interest rate. There was some data that came out on Friday with regards to Canada. There was some GDP contraction. What's also happening is there is a drift up in the Canadian unemployment rate. We also saw some contractionary PMI data come out on Friday. So that seemed to have affected the US dollar Canadian. In other words, the US dollar, remember, has that bullish pull to it. Well, it looks as if Canada perhaps has a bearish push to it. Now here you can see, let's put in our references. I'm going to put in a trough right over here. I'm going to put in a peak right over here. All right, and getting a bullish reading on the RSI. What's interesting is Canadian dollar is what we call a commodities currency. It's very much influenced by oil. Oil's flying at the moment. We should actually take a look at the oil chart. One would think that would offer some modicum of support for the loonie. Doesn't look like it's happening. Looks like the Canadian data is the primary driver. It looks as if the Canadian is showing signs of weakness relative to the US dollar. Go through to the daily chart. Look where we're tracking. We're in zone 1. We're between the upper blue, upper red. And what's interesting, the red Bollinger's are now tracking higher. The RSI above 50. Okay, so we've got some bullishness there. Let's go down to the hourly chart, see if we can see some sort of signals on the hourly. All right, and well, we're at the central pivot. Now, this looks very interesting. I'm going to push this arrow to the upper quintile because that would put the short-term momentum in sync with the higher time frames. We want to see, does the central pivot hold? Is there a key reaction there? And will the stochastic push to the upside? So US dollar loonie, one to watch today, but watch out. Beware. There's a central bank decision at 4 p.m. ZA, 3 p.m. UK, very much to be respected. One would expect volatility to come through on the BOC statement. All right, let's take a look at a cable. Take a look at cable, and then we'll take a look at Aussie, and then we'll take a look at gold. Then I think we're going to stop, and we'll go through to the crypto minute. So again, take a look what's happened here. We've broken the uptrend on cable. We haven't started a downtrend per se, but I think we can take these labels out. And I think what we can do is just like what we've been doing with the other currency pairs is we can put in new references. We can put in a P and a T. Where's the momentum bias here? Well, it's just crossed 50, okay? It's just dipped. And if it's dipped, what's happening on the daily? Well, we're in zone 3, okay? Where's the daily momentum? It's on the bearish side. Okay, a little bit of blue coming in, potential rally. Okay, so again, take a look at the central pivot. Do we get the crossover here? We're looking for a bearish cross. Then we're looking for stochastic to cross down. Then we'd like to see the momentum build. How do we see the momentum build? Well, for a bearish type of movement, it should move to the lower quintile. We'll just do Aussie and gold very quickly. Let's bring up Aussie. Okay, so the Aussie showing the Reserve Bank of Australia showing some restraint, holding the cash rate at 4.1%. That was yesterday. Take a look at what's happening here. I'm going to be strict with the labeling here. I'm going to start here. Peak. Trough. This would be a lower peak here. Again, it's very much looks like the dollar chart, doesn't it? A 1 week reversal, and here would be your lower trough. So Aussie looks like it is showing signs of stress. You can see the momentums to the downside. Go through to the daily. Well, we've just dropped quite savagely into zone 3. A little bit of blue. Well, that's a rally. It's a rally in the downtrend. Okay. Keep an eye on the central pivot. So all the pairs that we've looked at, central pivot seems to be where the action is. We just want to see if those hold. Okay, is it going to be a crossover here, and will it drop back to the lower quintile? All right, we don't have much time left. Just going to go through to gold. All right, so gold's actually been quite resilient. What I think is happening here is there is some support that gold is using as a platform. But if you just take a look at the last 3 candles, so let's start off 3 weeks ago, a nice long blue candle. Last week, a nice long blue candle. So for those 2 weeks, the bull's in control. Then what about this week's candle? It's an inside week. The bulls have lost their mojo, so to speak. They haven't had the fortitude to take price even higher. So bulls have started to weaken here. Bears haven't quite taken control yet, but this is an inside candle, which is a sign of uncertainty. And you can see that we're now starting to slip. We've slipped from zone 1. We've slipped back into zone 2. That's a step backwards. That's relative weakness. And yesterday we said there's probably resistance here. So it's not surprising if gold is going to continue to show strength. Then I think that the precious metal may be in some trouble. All right, it's gone past the top of the hour, so we're going to end here. I hope that you guys found this useful. We're going to go to our crypto minute, and we shall conclude at this point. Thank you very much. Have a great day ahead, great evening, and we shall chat tomorrow.